Hello, people. So, welcome to this station number two. Previously, in the playlist of quantum computing project with IBM Qiskit, I introduced you to Python programming, basics of Qiskit itself, and the basics of quantum computing all together at once. And if you have successfully completed that playlist, it means that now you already have this tool with you that will help you ahead in the quantum computing journey. However, if you are new here and if you are interested in quantum computing, you should check out that uh, playlist. Uh, However, in this video, we will be focusing on Python. We will be building. We will build here three projects, really simple projects, but these projects should help you to uh, you know understand how you build logic, and that's the most important part. Then you can learn any language. It's really simple if you know how to build logic. Then later on, learning any language is just about learning the log and learning the syntax, right? If you know how to build up the logic. So, and the other part is that I will be working on these projects in Google Colab. So you do not need to install anything. And the purpose is to introduce Python, way of writing in Python through these projects as well. So if you are someone who has a system from their institution or company, but they do not have you do not have any installation rights in your PC, then you can follow this tutorials because we will be working completely on Google Colab, so you don't require to install anything in your system. So in this particular section, I will just introduce you to the Google Colab and Jupyter Notebook, what it is all about. So let's go here and just simply type Google Colab and just click on the very first link. So you can see these are all my projects. But if you are doing it for the first time, uh, there will be and won't be any of it recent ones. You can see here examples. These you'll be having these. So it's a few bunch of examples to start with Google Colab. You can link your Google Drive with it, your GitHub, or you can upload things from your system as well. So as of now, just let me go open this Jupyter notebook. This is which is one of the projects. So it will take some time, and yeah. So this is what Google Colab looks like. It is basically a .ipynb file, a Jupyter notebook, and you can write Python code in it. And actually, Jupyter stands for Julia, Python, and R. Basically, Jupyter Notebook supports all of these, but as of now, we will be just working with Python. So let me just introduce you. So here, what you see here, this will give you runtime here. So initially, it might be disconnected. You need to connect it. So it will give you some allocate you some RAM and disk. Then also you can connect your drive from here. Just click on it and it will mount drive to it. From here you can see various table of contents. Here I have not given anything of it, so it's not showing anything. So and it also gives you uh, GPU and TPU support. So you can see hardware accelerator. So this is usually required when you are working on machine learning, more specifically deep learning, maybe computer vision or something like that, possibly. because when you are training deep learning, it takes time, and GPU really helps to uh, reduce that training time. We will see all it later, how to train all these things, this deep learning, what it is, how you train it online, everything later on, or how to train it in your system. We will focus on all of that later on. As of now, we will just focus on Python. So in this Jupyter notebook, you have two types of cell. So the first one is, as you can see, code cell, where you can write your code, Python code, and you can see here the shortcut is Control plus MB. And the other type of cell is the text cell, or markdown cell, you can call it. So it usually helps you to write the supportive text, or you can add images. You can also add hyperlinks. So you can it helps you to uh, give an explanation of your project or a particular chunk of code, like what what we've learned from it or something like that. So it really helps to explain better your piece of work. It helps you to explain your piece of work in a better way. So I think that's a good introduction to Jupyter Notebook. And I'll let you know about the three projects right now. So the first project is, as you can see, guess the number. The other two projects that we will be working in this series, in this video itself, are rock, paper, scissors, and the last one is tic tac toe, the board game tic tac toe. So these three projects will be working, all of them, on Google Colab, and the main purpose is to help you to you know understand that how to write the Python code. Knowing syntax and writing Python code is all good and fine, but it should be a good way of writing it, and that we will see in the coming sections, that what are some of the key points that you should remember, and the other stuff. So I think that's it for this one, and I will see you in the next section. Hello, programmers. And in the previous section, I told you about the three projects that we are about to work on in this video. And in this section, let me introduce you to the guess the number, which is the first project. And let me tell you what this is all about. So it is really simple. So we will first take a user specified range, say from 0 to 100, as you can see here. And then we will randomly choose a number in that range. So anything, any one number between in the range 0 to 100, and then uh, the user tries to guess that number, and as soon as the user guesses that number, uh, the game is over, right? So, and why this project, why did I choose to work, to introduce you to this project? First of all, it's very simple, uh, and it helps to first thing is it introduces you to the random Python module, which is, I think, uh, it's a very good tool to know about in Python. And the other thing is, you now know how to take integer input, also how to randomly select number between a given range using Python. Then it also involves this conditional statement, if elif, and everything. It also involves a function. So a few things that I wanted to talk about can also be done here. and it involves a while loop. So, and while we were in the playlist of the quantum computing project, I I took two videos about Python, and actually none of them talked about the while loop. I just introduced you to some of the important concepts in Python, like error handling, global variables, for loop, most of the things that we actually required for that quantum computing project. So I did not touch the while loop. So that's one thing. So this also involves that. Again, we have the break keyword here. So I think I did not even touch upon the break keyword in those two Python videos. So that is another thing. And you can see it's a really short project, hardly a few lines. And also, we execute this complete project in Google Colab, so you don't need any sort of system requirements, or you don't need any installation rights in your system to work on this project. It's just online. And it's really simple. So I think that's it. And in the next video, we will work out this complete project, and I hope to see you there. Okay, welcome to this section. And now just let's just jump into this code. So here you can see I just imported this Python module using this keyword import. So this keywords are some selected words in Python, and they have a particular meaning, and you cannot use them as the names for your variables. So the keyword import here is used to import a particular module into your script, and use all the uh, tools that that particular module provides. So, for example, here we import this random Python module, and we use this rand int here, right? And to use this, it's important that we first import it, or you will get errors. So this is the only required Python module that we are supposed to import. And once imported, now let's get to the step number 2, and don't forget to execute this. Now let's come here. So what we do here, we we need a range uh, to select a particular number in that range, and we give our user a chance to do that. And how do you do that? So you take again, input is a keyword, and this is the message that you want to give to your user. So enter the lower limit of the range, right? So it's the lower limit of the range, and that particular value that the user gives will be stored here in this variable lower limit. And again, note that we have int here, so it converts the given input into integer, which is a data type in Python. And again, we do the same thing. Again, we take this integer input, and we this time we ask the user to give the upper limit of the range and store it in this variable upper limit. So it's really simple. Now let me execute this. Let me just give the lower limit as 1, and the upper limit as say 100. Done. So you can see we have successfully executed this. Now first we need to select randomly one number in this range. So you can see we already imported this random module, and you can see module random, right? Now rand int, you can see it involves it requires a and b, and you can view returns random integer in range a b including both endpoints, right? So we already have our endpoints, and what this will do, it will select randomly one number in this range, and that will be stored in our variable target. Again, it will be an integer. So let me run this, and we have successfully executed that. Now let me get here. You can see this is the function. This is the def keyword that we use to define a function. This is the name of the function, right? And all of these are the arguments that the function requires, and what the user is supposed to give to it, right? And this is what it returns, none. Now again, I've already defined it here, what it returns. So I think this is again optional. Let me just clear this, but it is one of the way. And why is it important? Whenever you write a function, it's important that you define the parameters and their data type. So if someone else is looking at your code, they can directly know that what he or she is supposed to give the arguments, right? And it becomes very clear. So you can see I written the function validates if the guessed value is correct or not. So this is what this function validate does. And now I have defined all of the parameters here. So all of these arguments here, all of their data type, and what does the particular uh, argument represents, all of that. And again, you can also define it like this. For example, like this, right? You can also do it this way, uh, but even you can do it this way. And again, you can see I have also defined the return what it returns here. So you can see it returns 1 if guess is not equal to target, returns 0 if guess is equal to target, and returns none in case of some invalid arguments. Usually there is actually no scope for any invalid argument possibly, but uh, again, but we consider the extreme case, and even if something happens, we will still try to counter that, right? So this is the function. Now let's jump into the code of the function. So what is guess? Guess is the user input that the user gives, and then this is the target. So remember, this is the randomly selected value in the specified range. This is our lower limit of that range, and this is the upper limit of that particular range, right? Now let's go here. Now the first thing that we check here, so if this is how you check a particular condition. This is again a keyword. So don't you can just you can see we have two you have another keyword here, or, right? So we are checking for two possible conditions here, and if the guess is less than lower limit, or the guess is greater than upper limit, then the value is outside the specified range, right? The Because we know that actually the number which is randomly selected is in the specified range, right? So there's no point guessing a number outside that range. So even in that case, we print this statement and we return none, right? So, and this or keyword is simple to the logical or that we study in the logic, right? The AND gate, OR gate, all that simple things. This is the same thing. So if any one of this is any of these two condition is true, then these things will be executed. So if we'll check if any of these two conditions is true, then this will be executed. Again, note here, return is a keyword, and it will return this none, and as soon as it returns, the function is executed. So function ends there itself, right? Now again, for suppose the user specifies a number in the specified range, then then this condition is not true, definitely. Then we come down here, and what we do, we check for another condition. If the guess is less than target, then we just print try again, you guessed too small. So what does that mean? It just means that uh, the value that the user chose was less than the randomly selected number, right? And we return 1 here. And why we do that, I will come to that. We will come to that soon. And suppose the user guess is not not less than the target, it's greater than target, suppose. Then even this condition is not true. So we come here and we check for another condition. So if the user guess is greater than the target, then we print simply try again, you guessed too high. So this allows the user to know that their guess is greater than the randomly selected integer value. Suppose even this condition is not met, then another condition possible is this one, that the guess is head on and it is actually the selected number, right? And so this prints that's the correct answer, and it returns 0. Why this returns 0 and 1, we will get to that soon. And we define one simple else condition, which is a default condition, so that even if nothing of this is true for some reason, then we will just print something went wrong and we will return none. So that is this simple conditional statement and this actual function. And now let's move on to the interesting part. So you can see here I have defined this variable flag equal to 1. So this just holds the value 1. We also keep the count of the guesses. So we know how many guesses the user took to get to the actual target integer value. So that's it. These are the two variables that we define, and then we get into the while loop. While flag. Now, what does that even mean? Note that 1 actually corresponds to true and 0 corresponds to false. So let me just show you here, and I think I have not executed this. Yeah. So another one, and let me just do this. So you can see one is, if 1 is equal to true, and if I do 0 equal to 2, you can see it's false. any other, even if another integer value if I do, you can see it will be false, right? Or this one false. So you can see 1 corresponds to true and 0 corresponds to false, right? So while flag here actually means while true, and we know that the value of this flag variable is 1, right? So it means it is true. So while true, so initially this condition is true, and again we take a user input here. So very similar to the user inputs that we took here, same integer input with a message. So you can see we gave this message, make a guess, and this is again we convert that into integer and we store it into this variable guess, right? Now we call our function. This is our function, and we give all of the required arguments to it. So this is the guess that our user just made. This is the target value that he already uh, that was randomly selected using the Python random module. These are the upper and lower limits of the user specified range, right? So we have got all of this, and now we come we come here, and so whatever the function returns, either 1 or 0, is stored here, right? Now note that our function validate can return, you can see it returns 1 if guess is not equal to target, returns 0 if guess is equal to target, and returns none in case of some invalid arguments. Again, you can see since I defined everything here, it's so easy to just have a look at the function and what it does, right? So that's a good thing. So when you write code, see to it that you define the parameters, what it returns. It showed you ways of doing that, and writing code is not enough. It should be more of readable. So as a beginner, I think if you practice this, it's good enough. So here, if if we get 1, suppose, because it's not equal to target, and if we get here the flag is 1, suppose, if flag equal to none, it's not true. This condition won't be met if the flag value is 1, right? Then we will directly come here, and what is this plus, you can see operator here, plus and equal to. This means actually is this. So we had this variable total guesses, which is sort of a counter that helps us to, you know count the number of trials that the user took to reach to the actual target. And you can see actually this represents this. So we add the value of flag to this. So initially the value for total guesses is 0. So 0 plus 1, and now the new value for total guesses will be 1. So definitely it means that the user has made one guess, right? Now, and that's it. Now suppose, let's get back here to the flag value. We know that it can be either 1 or 0 or none. So we already saw what would happen if the value is 1. Now let's get to the second possibility and see what would happen if the value is 0. So if the value is 0, again there would be nothing here because it's not, the flag value is not equal to none. This won't be executed, these statements. Now the total guesses would be total guesses plus flag, which is actually 0 at the moment. And then what would happen is it will be while 0, and this would mean that the while loop will stop. So while true means that until the value of this flag variable is 1, the loop will continue to run. So it will keep on running, it will execute this statement, then this statement here, then it will check for this condition, it will increment this value, and it will jump back here. It will again check if the value is 1 here, that we get the value, we store the value here into the flag variable. And remember that in this function 1 is returned if the guess is not equal to target. So we want the loop to continue, right? So the user can make the next guess. That's why we return the value 1, and it returns 0 when the guess is equal to target. So we want the loop to break there, we want the loop to stop there. So the value returned is 0, right? I hope this is making sense. So if the user has not got the actual target value, then the value will be still 1 at the condition here, in here will be still true, it will be still while true, and all of these statements which are under this while loop, you can see the indentation here, you can see it here. So yeah, so all of these statements, you can see all of these are under while loop, and it will keep running until the user has the value, guesses the correct value, and in this statement it returns 0, and if the flag becomes 0, this condition will be while false, and while false means we are telling Python to stop executing this while loop, and we can just come outside this while loop. So you can see this total guesses plus equal to 1. I again increment this by 1. Why? Because remember, while the whenever the user guesses the right value for the target, in this step the increment takes place, but the value of flag is actually 0, right? So the value do not actually increment for that particular guess. So as soon as we come out of this while loop, because of that while false condition, I do it again, increment the value of total guesses by 1 to rectify that incorrect value of the total guesses, and then we can just print simply that you made a total of these particular guesses. This is just a way of writing it, right? Working with variables in a string. So I hope you got this logic. I know it's a long section. uh, Try to go it again, try to work it yourself, test it again. In the next section we will look at what would happen if this none condition is met, and we will also have a look at how to play this particular game, and we will also have a demo, and I will actually play this game, and that will conclude our first project. So I hope you learned something from this one, and I hope to see you in the next section. Hello programmers. So before we move further in the project, I want to take some time and discuss more of this while loop condition here. If you have already understood the complete logic of this while loop, good, you can skip this section and move ahead. But if you have not understood it yet, I just want to give you a little more help. I purposely kept this later so that you try yourself and try to work this logic in your head. But if you're not able to do that, we will see how this true and false thing works in uh, this little section. So let me just take another variable, say variable, and I will keep the value as 1, right? Pretty simple. Now I will start this while loop, and I will just type the name of the variable here and this colon, which is the syntax of Python. So that's how a while loop works in Python. And now let me just do print um, variable. So this is one definitely. And let me add a break statement here because if I don't do that, this will be an infinite loop. It will keep run forever. So let's not do that. And let me add a break here. And now if you see, if I execute this one, so the while loop worked, right? Because the you can see the initial value of the variable was here, and then while 1 actually represented while true, as we saw in the previous video, and this condition was therefore true. So we came here, right, and we printed this variable value, and this was the break statement, just to save ourselves from that infinite loop, because otherwise it will just keep running. And now let me just change the value to 0. Now if this is while 0, it means it actually represents while false, and therefore the value of this variable should not be printed. Why? Because this is while false, and this is a false condition, and therefore the logic will not enter into, we won't just enter into this while loop, right? Because the condition is just not met here. Now let me just show you. You can see nothing was printed. It means that we did not enter into this while loop. Why? Because the value of the variable was 0, which actually meant that this here represents while false condition, and therefore the value of this variable was not printed at all. So I think now it should be much more clear how it worked. And in the next section, I will again walk you through the third condition of this function validate, which is the none. And also I will tell you why I did not explain this condition right with the first two. So again, in the next section, I will walk you through this piece of code again. So it will just make sure everyone understands it, and we will see all of the three possible conditions. And again, the first two I have already talked about them, but it will be a little brief about them again. and I will just talk about this condition again, the none condition. So I hope you liked this video, and I will see you in the next one. So welcome to this section, and without wasting time, let's get here again. So in here, in these first two lines, we just uh, initialize these two variables. So the flag is with value 1, the total guesses are initially 0. Then while flag here is actually while 1, which is actually in turn while true. In the true condition means that we will enter this while loop and execute the statements that are within the while loop. And which are the statements within this while loop? These are all the statements within while loop, and you can see this indentation, this blank space here indicates that these all statements lie within the while loop, right? Now since the condition is true, we will come here and I will ask the user for an integer input, and the user will do that. Then what we do here, we call our validate function, which will return either of the three values, either 1 or 0 or none. Say for suppose we get the value 1 here, which means that the user has yet not reached the actual target value, the guess is not correct. But and then we will come down here, definitely flag is not equal to none because it is equal to true or actually 1. So this condition, if condition is false, so the Python will just skip this and it will come here this on this statement, and it will be just which actually means this. So remember, the original value for total guesses is 0, so the value here is actually 0, and the value for our flag variable is this 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1, and that will be the new value for our total guesses variable, which actually represents that user has made one guess. Now after this is executed, the Python will again go here to check the condition, and since the value returned in this statement was 1, the value of flag is yet 1, so the condition is yet true, and again it will execute all of these statements, right? Now for suppose in some of the run, we get here the value from our validate function as 0. So now the value of this variable is 0, and again this condition is not met. We increment this value, but actually it is not incremented because the value of flag is 0, right? But after executing this statement here, when Python jumps back to this condition, it is while false because the value of flag is 0, right? So since this is while false, the condition is not true, the Python will not enter into any of these statements again. It will not enter into the while loop. Instead, it will jump next to the statement which lies below the while loop, which is nothing but this thing here. Now note that because for the correct for the correct guess of the user, this increment did not work because the value of flag was 0. So to rectify that, we do this total guesses plus equal to 1, which again just represents incrementing the value by 1, and then we do this simple print statement which allows the user to know how many statements it took him or her to get to the target value. Now let us think about the third condition that the validate can give. So the third condition is none. So suppose we got none here and this is true, and what will happen, we will have this break keyword. Now what break keyword does is that it breaks the while loop here. So the while loop breaks and Python comes out of this while loop and start executing the statements out of the next statements out of this while loop. So it will jump directly here, right? Because the while loop is broken because of this break keyword, and we will just increment it by one because again one there was one guess required to do that, because of which we got the value into the flag variable as none. So we count that guess and we just write it over here, print it over here that these are the total number of guesses. But note that it won't include any of the hint steps, so the user will know something went wrong. But again, if you want to make it more better for your user, what you can do is you can just keep this as if flag is not equal to none, and in only that condition you print this. You can do that, and you can explicitly define a particular condition when flag is none and print something explicitly for that. Like I'll just show you here. So say I'll just write a particular condition here for suppose if flag equal to none, say, then I will write something is wrong, maybe you want to write. Okay, you can write that. But another thing that I want you to know is that these are the two conditions when none is returned. So definitely we print it here that something went wrong in this by default condition, and your value is outside the specified range. So again we give your user a hint here that so the user comes to know that something went wrong, and we break the loop here. So what I have done is I have just included the print statement for the none condition over here, but you can just skip that and you can explicitly define it over here, right? And I think that's all good. We have I think I have successfully explained you the complete thing, and let me just play with this. Uh, Now there's a particular way of approaching the guess, right? And now note that we have the range as 1 to 100. So the first guess would be the middle value of it, right? So 50. So now if the say the target value is actually say 34, for example. So when I make that guess of 50, the value is actually higher, and it will indicate that yeah, your value is your guess is greater than the target. So I know that no, I have to make the value smaller. So and definitely I know that the target actually lies somewhere between 1 and 50. So my next guess would be 25, the middle value between 1 and 50. So when I make the guess of 25, it will tell me that your value is lower than the actual target. So I know that the target lies somewhere between 25 and 50, right? So say I will make a guess into the middle value of 25 and 50, which is maybe somewhere 37. So I will give 37 and it will say that no, your value is actually higher, right? So again, I will uh, do this, make the take the middle value of that particular range between 25 and then 37 and just keep doing that until I reach the actual target. So you can see here in this example, I made a first guess as 50, then it asked me to try again. The value is too small. I made a guess of 75. It said you guessed too high, and I made the value of 63. It asked me that you guessed too high again, so I made the value guess as 57 and asked me to try again. You guessed too high. I made the guess of 53. It said try again. You guessed too small. So in 53 and 57, definitely only there are four numbers. So I just made the 55 as my next guess. It said it's too high, though it had to be between somewhere between 53 and 55. I made the guess 54, and that's the correct answer. So the value, uh, randomly selected value was 54, and I made a total of 7 guesses for it, right? So now let me show you live how this thing works. Make a guess. I'll do 50. You guess too small. So my value lies between 50 and 100. So the next guess is 75. Again, so it's between 75 and 100. So let me guess it somewhere between, say, 90 maybe, or no, yeah, let's just go with 87. My guess is yet small. So now, so it's like somewhere between 87 and 100. So uh, yeah, almost, let me just go with 94, 93 maybe. So you can see you guessed too high. So it's somewhere between 87 and 93. So let me just go with 90. So I guess too small. So it's somewhere between 91 and 93. So let me see if it's 92. And that's the correct answer. And it took me 6 guesses to get here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So my sixth guess was the correct guess. And that concludes our first project. I hope you like it, and I really encourage you to make it more complex and do more stuff with it. Try to Google some basic concepts of Python if you want. If you get stuck somewhere, try to modify it, make it more enjoyable as a game. Just be creative, come up with new ideas, and try to work on Python with it. And I hope to see you in the project number 2. Thank you for watching.